Okay, Prop 35 on human trafficking, and we've been hearing a lot about this one, Shiva.
Prop 35, the question, should the definition of human trafficking be expanded, penalties for traffickers be increased, convicted sexual traffickers be required to register as sex offenders, and additional training for law enforcement officers be required. That is Prop 35. Human Trafficking Penalties Initiative. Increase criminal penalties for human trafficking, including sentences up to 15 years to life and fines up to $1.5 million. Fines collected to be used for victim services and law enforcement. Requires personnel convicted of trafficking to register as sex offender. Requires sex offenders to provide information regarding internet access and identities they use in online activities. Prohibit evidence that victims engaged in sexual conduct from being used against victims in court proceedings. And requires human trafficking training for police officers. The federal law says sex trafficking and labor trafficking, both. And state law says existing state law contains similar criminal prohibition against human trafficking. Specifically, state law defines human trafficking as violating the liberty of a person with the intent either commit a certain felony crime or obtain forced labor services. Human trafficking is punishable under state law by a prison sentence of up to 5 years. That is the current law. Or if the victim is under the age of 18, by state prison sentence of up to under the 8 years. Offenders convicted of human trafficking crimes that results in great bodily injury to the victim can be punished with additional terms of up to 6 years. The proposal of this law is, this measure makes several changes to state law related to human trafficking. Specifically, it expands the definition of human trafficking, increases the punishment of human trafficking offenses, and changes in the punishment is for labor trafficking. In the current law it is 5 years. Prop 35 suggests 12 years. Sex trafficking on an adult forced, current it says 5 years. Prop 35 says 20 years. Sex trafficking on a minor without force, current law says none. Prop 35 says 12 years. Sex trafficking of a minor forced, current says 8 years. Prop 35 says lifetime. And sentence enhancement, great bodily injury, current says 6 years. Prop 35 10 years. And prior human trafficking offenses, current says none. Prop says 5 years per prior conviction. And fines, current says 100,000. Prop 35 says $1.5 million. Stop human trafficking, yes on 35. In California, vulnerable women and children are held against their will and forced into prostitution for the financial gain of human traffickers. Many victims are girls as young as 12. Human trafficking is one of the fastest growing criminal enterprises in the world, and it's happening right here on the California streets. And online, where young girls are bought and sold. A national study recently gave California an F grade on its laws dealing with child sex trafficking. Prop 35 protects children from sexual exploitation. Prop 35 holds human traffickers accountable for their horrendous crimes. Prop 35 helps stop exploiting children that starts online. California's largest law enforcement groups urges yes on 35. Crime victims and their advocates urges yes on 35. Lee Alberta and human trafficking survivor protect children from sexual exploitation, stop human traffickers, yes on 35. Opponents say Prop 35 is badly drafted. It could have a detrimental effect on the state budget without reducing human trafficking. Opponents say Prop 35 threatens civil rights and privacy rights. The favor of Prop 35, there are about 100 organizations, all law enforcement and all the social organizations are there. I have the whole list of it. I don't want to read that 100, what's 200, about 100 or 200, there are 4 pages of it. And they have collected about 2.8 million for yes on Prop 35. No is the only one organization, and that is Erotic Service Providers Union, and they haven't collected a penny. Fiscal effects of it is state and local annual costs are estimated at a couple of $1 million. Longer sentences would increase prison population, and state and local costs would rise if arrests increased. The revenues would be allocated to victim services and would not offset costs. Most of the newspapers and proponents, they all are saying yes on Prop 35. Only people who are saying no is the one I read. And I was trying to go online and try to find out who else is opposing it, because there are all these in favor, there aren't anybody in oppose, and I couldn't find anybody who was in oppose of this prop. So this is the only one I could find. And basically, socially, I guess, everybody agrees to it that there should be California state law specifically is very liberal to human traffickers and sex traffickers. So there should be more severe punishments for this kind of criminals. Any questions?
What was the organizational process?
Erotic Service Providers Union. That's the only one I could find.
The Green Party says no.
I'm sorry.
The Green Party says no.
Okay, I didn't see that. A Green Party might say no. Okay.
Excuse me, the Green Party of Alameda.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the general, but the Green Party of Alameda.
Okay.
Which is part of Green Party.
Good to know.